wanted to talk to you a little bit today about my watercolor pencils and how I store them. I first started with just watercolors, and it was a long journey because I didn't know what I was doing. But I followed several wonderful watercolor online instructors, and I quickly learned technique, water control, and all those things. Plus, I'm an experimenter, and I love to try things on my own, and yes, I failed miserably a lot of the time. Then one day, I found several instructors talking about watercolor pencils, and I was intrigued. Several of them had Inktense pencils, which I thought those look really fascinating, and I think I might want to buy those. But I've learned from past mistakes that I really should research a little bit further before I make a purchase, particularly one as expensive as that. So I did find a few other instructors who were using Caran D'Ache watercolor pencils, and they were glowing about them. And I researched further, and I realized they have several lines of watercolor pencils, and the Museum Aquarelle watercolor pencils really caught my eye. So I just made the plunge, and I bought the 72, I believe, I think I've said 96, but it's not 96, it's 76 set. I didn't get the ones in the box. I'm glad that I didn't get the ones in the box, even though I love that beautiful box. And you'll see why today, because I didn't keep them in its original box. It wasn't practical for me, even though the regular box was beautiful. So today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about how I store those pencils. I absolutely love those pencils. It was a perfect purchase. I have no complaints about them at all, except for me, because storage and the space that I use to paint with is very limited. The trays in the boxes were not easy for me to lay out. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about how I store my watercolor pencils and just some general storage advice for somebody who might have a tight space. I live in an apartment, and I always paint here at my desk or on the dining room table. And if I'm on the dining room table, I clean it up every time afterwards so I can have that space reclaimed. So today I want to show you what I use, and we'll talk about it a little. This is going to be casual. It's going to be limited on editing, because I'm just going to leave the mistakes and the blunders when I talk in there, and it's just going to be real. It's just going to be me chatting with you guys. So if you have any questions about information that maybe I didn't remember to cover or didn't think to cover, please put those questions in the comments, and I'll do my best to answer them. My watercolor journey is fairly new, but I have given it my all, and I have just painted non-stop because I'm at home all day, every day pretty much, and so I've just dove in and painted and experimented, and kind of found my own way along with several watercolor instructors online, taking a little bit from each one and making it my own. So today we're going to talk about the watercolor pencil storage and some other watercolor pencil techniques. So enjoy this video, and again, if you have questions, just let me know. So the first thing that I wanted to do was to order a case, and I wanted to be able to put my pencils in these what I considered to be a little more efficient setup. And so this case has perfect slots. They're easy to get in and out, and it's worked wonderful. And I organized them by color, and it takes 2 of the open pages for the Caran D'Ache 96 set. Now this case is way bigger than what I needed, and I started out, I was just going to order one. I think it held 20 or 100 pencils, but then I decided to get this bigger one because then I could put all of my pens in it as well. So I have ordered, organized them, excuse me, by the type of pen and then the size. So there is a brown Faber-Castell, the brown micron, black micron, gray micron, and or sepia micron and gray micron. And then a friend gave me all of these colors, which I use. This is a gold pen and this is a milky brush. And then on these pages I have pencils. These are mechanical pencils. These are wonderful drawing pencils, erasers, gold and silver pens, white. And then this is masking fluid. It took me a minute to think about that one. So then that one's masking fluid. More pens, more erasers. This one's just loose. I didn't get it stuck back in there. Again, more pens, and then the jelly roll pens that I use. So I really liked, for me, that I got a big enough case to put everything in. So it's easy just to flip. I can set it over there when I'm using it and just flip from page to page. Now, you will notice that there are a lot of empty spots. And the reason for that is that I have been going out a lot, and I have been, I live close to a lake, so I've been walking over there and I've been sitting down and I've been sketching and painting. So I have this little easy to use I don't know, case, I guess is what you call it. And so what I've done, now this is a stack of paper towels. I use those a lot with watercolor pencils and when I'm doing regular painting. But I keep these in a little container. I just took a whole entire roll and I folded them. These are the half sheets, and I folded it in half and then folded it again, and I stack them up. So I took a stack of those and tucked them in here, and I don't even have to take them out when I paint. I can just leave it there and then just do what I need on there. Right here I've got my two favorite water pens for watercolor pencils, and I have a tiny ruler should I need it. I have my black 0.05 micron pen. I have my smallest mechanical pencil, which is a 0.3 Pentel. I have my kneaded eraser, and then I have this little pencil sharpener. Now, when I'm sitting here at my desk, I use this pencil sharpener. It's absolutely the easiest and the best, but not good for transport. So I have that tucked here in the first pocket. Then here are all the missing pencils from my big case, and I plan to order duplicates of these, because what I've done here is take my favorite pencils, and don't need all of them when I'm out, and I'm sure that, you know, there will be times I wished I had a different one, but I have found that these are my favorites and I use them over and over again. So I have taken those watercolor pencils and put here in this case. Now, there's not any paper in here because I carry paper in a couple of different ways. So this is a great Blue Star Crafts clipboard. It has a little elastic there that you can loosen and tighten, and I carry my brown 0.03 micron pen there, because when I'm sketching smaller, I like the brown over the black. But this is a little wooden clipboard, a little leather case, which is wonderful. And then I cut some Arches watercolor paper, 100% cotton. This is cold press, which is what I use most of the time. And then I rounded the little corners, and then they're just clipped in here. There's a little sketch I started the other day, just a tree stump. But I sketch on it, and I can either wait till I get back home to color, or I can just color it, and I don't even have to apply the water at this point. I can just take my watercolor pencils, and this is an old broken windmill. I can color it in, leave it for later and water it then. Or I can take one of my water pens, and while I'm out, I like that I have a lot of control with the watercolor pencils. The pencil sharpeners I use get really fine point, and you're not drawing the same as you would be for a colored pencil. You're basically just laying down pigment. So a very light touch is all that you need. So that sharp point will remain for a long time. And then I have that all drawn out there. That is a little stock tank in a tin gray color. And I go ahead and color everything because I'm using those watercolor pencils. And you have a lot more water control, so it's easier. Whoops, I just grabbed that pencil and broke the tip. That's okay. Have the water in there. This is the bigger one, but still it has such a small tip, and that's stained. It shouldn't be dirty. But I've got my paper right here, a little bit of green still on it. And then I can just, now I don't squeeze the pen while I wet it. It's wet, it's all the water I need. And then I just draw it along that line. This is the bigger one. I should have gotten the smaller one. But this is a really handy setup. And that color that I picked there was not a gray, it was a sepia. And then if I want it darker, let's just add some more of my favorite brown. This is Castle Earth. Then I can take this and grab more pigment straight from the pencil and then just dab it in there. You can also paint that way. But there's no mess and fuss with watercolor pencils when you go out. Another paper setup, I ordered these small little tins. And they do have an insert, and let me go grab that. So here are all of them that came in the set. And they all have little painting trays, but they're very movable. So what I did for this one is I took the tray out and then I measured, and these are 1.5 by 2 inches. Again, this is Caran D'Ache, no, excuse me. Again, this is Arches watercolor paper, 140 pound, 100% cotton, cold press. So I cut them, and then I used my corner cutter to cut the corners, and I believe this holds 25, I'm not sure. So I've got that, and then I want to fill one of these with paints. And I thought it would be really cool to put a magnet so that they would adhere together, and then it would be cool to have those separate. And you can use the water pens with your paint. You just simply take your pen and dip it in your paint and then paint with it. And then just, because these are self-cleansing, you don't need a pot of water. You just squeeze it and put it on your paper towel. You just would squeeze and just brush it there. One of the things I noticed about these that are really cool is they're deep. So this isn't a video about that. This is about organizing my watercolor pencils and how I do that. So maybe this will help you guys if you're going out. And I do have a small pencil sharpener there, but this is a really nice case. It has 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't remember now how many it holds, but it's compact, and I can just sit it on my desk, open it up, and then I have all the colors I need, and they fit wonderful. So if I can't see the name of something, then I just roll it over. Also, this is a Caran D'Ache palette. Fits perfect in here. Now what you would do with this is you would take one of your watercolor pencils, and if you do this, you're putting pigment on it, and then you can take your watercolor pen or paintbrush and water, and just, now you've got paint, and so you can just paint on whatever you want. And I do this sometimes too. Sometimes it's easier than pulling it off of the pen. So that's always an option too. But it fits right here in this. Also, I printed this little color chart. It was a blank color chart with just, you can see here, there are a couple of empty ones. And then I just did my own, it had this place for a brand and the set. I guess it wasn't 96, it was 76 plus 2 museum quality. I apologize for that. I got my numbers wrong. And then I put all the colors on here. Now, one thing I didn't do right, I did it tray by tray. It was when I still had them in the trays, and I didn't have the trays in order. So you'll see I have some blue here and then some blue here. So were I to do this over, I would shuffle it around. You can see I've got some oranges here and some, so I had my trays out of order, and I arranged them here in the order I felt like made the most sense on the color wheel. So what I would do if I did this again, I would just print another one, and of course, and do it by what is here and do it in order. But this also fits perfectly in here, which is very, very handy. So I can put both the little palette and this, and then it'll just zip up. And this was not terribly expensive. I don't remember now how much it was. But I think it's a great place to keep all of my pens and my watercolor pencils organized. And I can put duplicates in there, because I do want to order duplicates of all of these to put back in here so that I'm not having to switch back and forth all the time. Another thing, and this is just a little sidebar, it's not really pertinent to watercolor pencils. I have this little bowl that I use. I think I had soaps or something in it. But it's just kind of I use these all the time kind of situation. A little, I've got my knife for pulling my paper off of the blocks. I've got a regular eraser. I've got my I'm not sure what they call it. It's a rubber eraser to pull off masking fluid. I've got some of my other micron pens that I reach for a lot. These are all of my black ones, so that's why I didn't have as many black ones in there. I've got a Sharpie, I've got another water pen, and I have a little pipette that you can pull water up. And I like to use this to wet my watercolors. I'll spray them, but sometimes I need more water, so I'll pull water out and drop it in. And then this is my one of my glass tipped pens. And I have to tell you, I didn't use this thing for the longest time, and then I realized how it could benefit me. And I use it very often for applying masking fluid because it's got the tiniest little tip. And it is so handy to make tiny little marks with masking fluid. So we'll do a video soon, and I'll just use this to put, or not just use this, but I'll use this to show you how to apply masking fluid in tiny little detail. And it's so easy because it's glass. It doesn't, I've got some Dr. Martin's pH white in there. I need to go in there and clean that, which is wonderful for adding that too. But it washes so easy and you're not running a brush. So that's just a little sidebar there. But again, I hope that helps you guys, gives you some ideas about organizing your watercolor pencils. And thank you so much for watching. I hope this helps, and keep painting.